Well, hi there. My name is Dr. Hood. I want to welcome you to Engaging the Old Testament. The word engaging implies that we are really going to interact with the narrative of the Old Testament. I want to introduce you to my fellow professor and grader. This is Catfish. Now, she has an official name, Tessa, but we never use this because my son said, hey, she looks like a catfish. When she is outside and I have to call her in, I call Cat, and here she comes. So people hear me calling for a cat, and running in comes a dog. She is the most adorable thing, y'all. I gotta tell you. I secretly let her sleep in my bed, so I'm sorry if that is not your sort of thing. So Cat helps me here. But that brings up a point, right? That sometimes things come in really unexpected and they just appear different than they are. You expect a cat and here comes in a dog. So if you're not familiar with the Bible or scripture, as Christians sometimes call it, you may have a different kind of idea about it. I grew up completely without religion, had no idea what a Bible was. And for some other people, you may be quite familiar. You may be a church-going sort of person, and you may have either a very thorough idea of the Bible or somewhat of an idea of the Bible, but it may still be sometimes that you think it's a cat and it actually is a dog. So the idea of this course is to really get a good feel. We're going to put the dog cat as a say bye-bye on the floor here. The idea is to really engage both the story of the Bible as well as get a feel for what is it. So we're going to look at it in terms of its literature. So it's a collection of a lot of books that are different literary works, but they are not presented to us in any kind of order. They're presented by literary types. So if you read them in order, you don't get the story as it develops. So one of the purposes here of this course is to really understand the story, to see what it really is, and to ask the question, where does it come from? So this is a religion course. If you were in any kind of other type of university, you would have had to take some sort of humanity course that fulfills this type of requirement. And here at Mary Hardin Baylor, we appreciate the Bible and we like to delve into this. And it will give you all sorts of benefits. You will benefit from learning to analyze a bigger story and to chase down humanities types of hypotheses, which I really believe it will help you both in the health sciences, the business world, the education world. My background actually is in the health sciences before I changed around, and of course I've been an educator for a long time. So you will do so by three different types of assessments that we will engage in at some point. The first one is you will do we call them competencies. The first competency will be a travel blog, and that is with an eye toward understanding the geography and history behind the story, so we know where the story plays. The second competency will be an ebook, which enables us to really trace the story. And of course, that means that you do some analysis. And the third one will be a TED Talk, but you will not perform the talk. You will do the layout. Okay, let me quickly run through that because your time is precious. The blog, okay? In order to be able to do a blog, you need to have a basic idea of where does this story play. I mean, this is true for any kind of degree that you're aspiring to, right? Lay out the landscape of your study field. So we're going to do that very basically. I really encourage you to look into the lessons. If nothing else, flip through it, see what the areas are, get a general feel for it, and look for what is available to you so that when you go to the assessment and you need something, you can go back because all of the information that you need is available right there in your lessons. In fact, I want you to use the resources in the lessons to do your assessments. Some of the things that I run into when students uh, submit their assessments is that they have found resources elsewhere, and I can save you a lot of time. Some of the information is just not accurate where you find it. Okay, so use some of the resources available in the lesson. You will look for archaeological resources, so what things look back in time, and so forth. So the idea is that you provide a blog as if you were traveling back in time and visiting these places in real time. So that means that you travel from one city to another city in the time of the Old Testament narratives. So you will look at the environment that it took place in, where these cities were, what it looks like, what the history behind it is, what the people might have eaten at the time. Make sure that you don't give me four different blocks, because you will look at four different cities or towns, but you need to present them in one block. So read the directions closely, you can do it. The second competency is a little longer. I'm always thinking excited to read them. It's called an ebook, which pretty much means you use Google Slides that is already prepared for you in a template. So it's a long slide, and you will just basically fill it in. Okay. So go to that assessment and first copy the template. It's under a hyperlink called resources. Copy it and then fill in the pieces. The beginning gives an example that I have done. Each one of those competencies has an example already there for you. The blog has it. This ebook has it. And pay attention to the parts. So you will in parts walk through the overall story. You will fill in these parts, right? And then it has special sections for it. There's a section that's called critical issues. Again, if you walk through these lessons that are there for you, there are actually sections that discuss critical issues that correspond to each one of these sections that you will do for this ebook, for this narrative. So go to it. You can pick an issue that you want to decide. They are linked to resources for you. Don't go elsewhere. Go into the materials provided for you. You have choices, but that ensures that you don't lose time by your professor, probably me, saying, "Where'd you get this? This is not accurate." Okay, so go there, fill that in. So talk about what are some points that you go, huh? What is this about in the story? Feel free to say, yeah, I have some questions about this. What is this about? How is this even possible? And so interact with things. Questions are good in life. Questions, whether you're in the health sciences or in the business world or in education or other fields, asking good questions and then looking for the answers, that is what we look for people in the workforce today, right? So you will do this here as well. Then there's a section that says literary features. So for each one of these parts that you walk through in the story, you will find what literature, what books, what sections of the books this part of the story is found in. Like I said, it's not presented to us in order. So then where do you go to find the pieces of the puzzle? Okay, that's your job. There's information for you. There's a way for you to figure this out. So you will present that in this part of the template along with, well, what kind of literature is it? Is this prophetic literature? Is this poetry? How is this connected? If it's narrative, what kind of narrative is it? So go ahead and put it in there. Now, there's a part where you say, how do I see myself in the story? What do we learn from that today? We at Mary Hardin Baylor believe that this is relevant to us today. What kind of lessons can you learn from this? If this is also the way you live your life, that's great. If you don't really see the relevance of that, if you are not a believer, a Christian, that is fine. You're welcome. But you can probably see the reality of how stories or historical stories still have some lessons for today. Make it generic lessons for society, for humanity, or really see if there's still something that you can do with it. Okay, so that's there. you cannot do this thing overnight. This will take you a good bit of time. So run with that. And I would not fill out the whole thing and then submit it and get really frustrated if it's not what you're looking for. So if I were you, I would do two of those chapters or something, two parts, and then send me a draft. Find me through the messages and just send me a draft and say, hey, is this what you're looking for? So that we can correct it before you do all the work. Deal? Last one, won't take you too long. It's a TED talk, like the TED talks that you find online. In fact, there are some examples of it, and the idea here is that you envision presenting to another person or to a large audience, like we do in TED talks, what this Old Testament is all about. Where did it come from? What is the nature of it? And you present it to people in bite-sized pieces. So that means that TED Talks typically in the background have some slides. So you're going to present PowerPoint slides. And you are going to write a narrative that on the side says, here's where you flip to slide this and that. Again, for this, there is an example. I've made an example for you. You're going to do the same thing, but the information needs to be correct. This is not opinion-based. This is an academic course, so the information needs to be correct. Once again, the information is available to you in the lessons. So go back, walk through the lessons for that particular section of this particular course and talk about these options. I had one student one time who explained how the story came to us, just like in kindergarten, they played the telephone game. And that is just not accurate. That's not because we religiously want to defend the Bible. No, that's not even accurate if you want to explain where the Iliad comes from, or which is an ancient book. That's just not how the ancients dealt with information. They very delicately preserved information, including oral information. We actually have data to show that. It's a very different world from ours. So you go back to the information and you read on that. You cannot rely on hearsay or things that you have heard. It's just a very different culture, and your job is to find that. We want to do that in healthcare. We want to do that in business. We want to do that in education. So we do that in religion. All right. So once again, you can run something by me. And the good news is you do not have to speak in the TED Talk. You do the preparation for it. Well, my grader is somewhere on the floor, walking around, cat. But I'm looking forward to your work because I really enjoy this course. Typically, my students are like, oh, do we have to do this? And at the very end, they say, this was actually a lot of good stuff and a lot of fun. So looking forward to interacting with you. Bye-bye.